you fight for your freedom because, I mean, aside from giving us a safe country to live in and protecting our borders and all the stuff that our great men and women of the armed services do for us, when it comes to our financial situation, our life situation, that's us. We have to fight for our freedom within this land here. So let's talk about today the different types of commission. You know, state of real estate, it's all about making money. That's because, I mean, that's why, you know, most people, I would say probably 99.9%, 0.99% of people get their real estate license because they want to make at least some money. Maybe they only want to close one deal. Maybe they just want to save some money on their own house when they're using their real estate license and they're buying their own house or selling their own house. So maybe they're looking to save some money there. We could call that making money. Maybe you're looking to be the next top real estate agent. You're looking to be number one, not only in Florida, not only in the United States, but number one in the world. And, you know, pulling in millions of dollars a year in commission money. You know, there's so much opportunity that exists in real estate. I mean, really any one of those, even if it's just something as little as, look, you just want to save some money when you sell your house or when you buy your own house. Use the commission as the down payment. Use it towards the closing cost. Use it to just put some extra money in your pocket. At that very little, all the way up to, you know, you're looking to make millions of dollars a year. That happens every day in real estate. But it all happens because of the commission, because of the fees, because of the money it is that we charge. And one thing about charging money is you want to know why it is that you're charging it. What would you charge? What are the different ways these numbers are calculated? So that's what we're talking about today, the different types of commissions. We're going to talk about when we're dealing with residential, when we're dealing with leases, maybe even commercial leases, maybe when we're dealing with business brokerage, maybe if we're doing property management, how this whole compensation structure works out across all of these different areas. So that's what we're talking about today, commission. If you like money, if you like making money and you're considering making money in real estate, and maybe you already are making money in real estate, this is where you need to be. State of Real Estate. We'll be back.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate, where this week we are talking about commission, you know, making money. Oh, so we just got Mark Vansco commenting in on YouTube. Got to give him a shout out because he just closed his first deal. Next one closes next month. You know, let's take a lesson right there. You know, we're going to talk about commission, get into some of the details about commission later. But look, if you're looking to make a career out of real estate, you got to do what Mark's doing. You got to have a constant flow of closings lined up. You know, notice how he didn't say, oh, I just closed a deal, now what? He's like, I got a deal closing this month, got another one closing next month, and I bet you he's got some more in the pipeline that he's going to keep ramping this up. And that's what it's all about. So I really want to talk a lot about this stuff. Anything related to commission, you got questions on any of this stuff, and congrats, Mark, as well. Keep up the good work, buddy. But yeah, you guys got questions or anything like that, we've got the chat loaded up on here. If there's something it is that maybe you don't understand or anything, let us know in the comments. Got those both pulled up here, Facebook, YouTube, our Success Center. Drop it in there and we'll enlighten you. We'll talk about the different ways. If you've got maybe some idea and you want to see if, hey, can I do this? Drop that in the comments and we will cover that. So let's start off by talking about some residential commission. So residential property, this is the most frequent transaction. There's the largest number of transactions in residential real estate. Residential real estate because everyone needs a place to live. And residential sales make up most of the transactions, at least the one that involve real estate professionals. But let's not forget about residential leases as well. And residential leases are a good pathway to get into a couple years later. If you're following up and staying in touch with those clients it is that you help lease property to, really a year later, you should set a reminder. Anytime it is that you help somebody lease a property, you want to set reminders in your calendar, in your CRM, whatever it is that you use for reminders to run your business. Hey, follow up, touch base with this person. Really, you should have a couple of touches scheduled out then, so a year later when you call them up, they're not like, oh, hey, who are you? But if they're even if they're just looking to get into a different community, you could help them out. If they're looking to actually purchase, maybe they want a townhome or a condo to kind of mimic that same lifestyle, or maybe they're fed up with that lifestyle and they want a single family home. That happens so often, and so often agents just forget about these rental clients it is that they work with. They get in there, get the quick, cheap buck, don't make too much money, not anything near as what you would selling a piece of property, but they're like, I don't want to deal with them again. I don't like dealing with leasing. Hey, they're probably not going to be a renter forever. They probably have intentions of buying. They probably have desires and dreams of buying, and it's you that can help make that possible. And that's part of why it is that we're paid for this, is we help make things possible. We open doors that people didn't know existed. That's what our knowledge does. And let's talk about a residential sale, and then we'll deal with the leases. We'll talk about the leasing some more. So let's say you've got somebody who wants to purchase a property. Now, if this is somebody wanting to purchase a property, you're usually not going to have to charge the client, charge your buyer, because the commission is already negotiated and paid for by the seller. So let's say we got some sort of $300,000 house. $300,000 is a fairly average price. The average price point in Hillsborough County right now, which is where Tampa is located, is right around $300,000 currently, give or take a few thousand. And let's say that the total commission on the transaction is 6%. So 6% of $300,000 is $18,000. And now that's our total commission across the entire transaction. And the way this breaks out here is this gets split between the buying office and the seller's office. And usually this is a 50-50 split. This depends on what the agreement is negotiated with the seller. This is all pre-negotiated with the seller's agreeing to pay this $18,000 commission. So that's kind of the listing side of this here. If you find somebody that wants to sell their property, you'd go to them and say, hey, I'm going to charge you a 6% commission, but the reason why I charge 6% is because I'm going to split it 50-50 with whoever the other agent is that sells the property. And so what that breaks down then is $9,000. And let's say here you're working with the buyer. Now, on top of this, you're going to also have another split, and this is going to be your brokerage commission split. And the brokerage commission split is between the sales associate and the broker. And the broker is legally required to be there unless you have a real estate broker license yourself. Then you could operate independently. But for at least your first 2 years of having a real estate license in Florida, unless you have experience from some other state that you could maybe bring in here, you have to start out as a sales associate. And the reason why they do that is even after going through the pre-licensing course and learning everything it is you learn and passing your exams, you're determined to be, by the Florida Real Estate Commission, what they call, this is not my words, it's theirs, minimally competent. So minimally competent is what you are. And because you're minimally competent, they require you to be teamed up and underneath a broker. Now, with the broker, there's a lot of different brokers out there. There's brokers that operate where you keep 100% of your commission. So you get 100%, they take 0. There's maybe some sort of monthly fee or annual fee or something like that. There's some way that the broker's making money always. And if you don't like it, put in your time and get your broker license. But with that 100%, where you're getting 100% of the money and the broker gets 0, you're really, other than the legal obligation of the broker having to be there, that broker really is providing you 0%. And as a new agent, regardless of how much it is that you know, that's not a good situation to be in. Because when your broker provides you 0%, when you don't know what to do, when you need help in a transaction, that's not the right place to be. So a lot of times you're going to see commission splits. And commission splits are going to be where the brokerage keeps a portion of your commission. And let's say this is let's just say it's a 70-30 split. So we've got you as the sales associate getting 70% of the commission and your broker getting 30% of the commission. Now, a lot of people look at this commission split and they say, well, why would I want to fork over 30% of my commission to the broker? Why should the broker get 30%? Why are they taking 30% of my money? they're not taking the money, they're helping you earn that commission. They're helping you get the 70%, because what's 100% of zero? It's zero. So you don't have any commission money to split. Doesn't matter whether your split is 100% or any percentage. 100% of zero is the same as 50% of zero, which is still zero. But so that's really the purpose the broker's solving. And now, do your due diligence when you're joining a broker. Interview them. Find out what it is that they offer. I mean, of course, we're always going to ask, well, what's the bottom line? What's the numbers with this here? And yes, that's important. But now what's more important is seeing if you're getting 30% of value. What is it that the broker offers? You know, a lot of people as a new agent, they're worried about being a new agent and whether people are going to trust them and whether or not people are going to say, oh, well, you're not too experienced, you're a new agent. You could buy your way into experience. And so when they ask you how long you've been licensed, you say, hey, I just got my license last week. They'll probably cringe a little bit and say, oh, I don't know, this is a big investment. Whereas if you have a little bit better answer to that and they say, well, look, I just got my license last week, but I've been training with one of the best brokers in the Tampa Bay area. He or she has 25 years of experience, and he's going to be directly working with me on this transaction. Are you okay with my broker working directly in this transaction with me to make sure we get everything taken care of? Yes, you are okay with that? Okay, just sign right here and we'll go ahead and get started. So see how easy that is when you have the answers to these questions there. Now, if you've got one of the 100% brokers, and let's say over here on the seller's office side, so this is another brokerage. This is who's representing let me write this a little bit clearer here because I know I don't have the best handwriting. So this is if you're working with the buyer, and this is the agent in the brokerage working with the seller. Let's say the seller's agent, they're a little bit more experienced. Now, if you're a little bit more experienced, because, once you get through your first couple transactions, it depends what the broker's offering, but, when you're first starting out, that 30% might be worth its weight in gold. But as you become more experienced, you could always change brokers or renegotiate your commission split with your broker. And if it comes down to it where you renegotiate or you just move brokers to one of these 100% situations, you can absolutely do that. And if you really don't need the guidance and experience, and there's really not much that the broker's offering that makes it worth that 30%, I mean, that's what I did when I started out. I started off in a split situation because I knew, and the split situations were a whole lot more common back when I started as opposed to today where there's a lot of 100% brokerages. But aside from that, I knew that, hey, look, this 30%, I didn't get hung up on, hey, they're taking 30% from me, but I made them help me get that 30%. I used the tools it is they offered. I used their experience. I used their knowledge. I made them earn that 30%. And they helped me earn my 70%. But then, once you do a couple transactions, you kind of know the deal. I mean, yeah, you're always going to come across things that are new, but you might want to switch to maybe a broker that has a higher commission split, or maybe is 100% commission split. You could always do that. Now you keep all your money. But you got to figure out what you're doing first before you go out on your own, essentially. Even though you have a broker here, you're still kind of on your own here. You're not going to have a broker that's as involved, in theory, as you would here with these commission splits. And these commission splits, you might even see them as 50-50. You could see it if maybe you're joining a real estate team. I've seen commission splits on real estate teams where agents are only getting 10-15% of the total commission. But that's because they're just working on such a small part of the transaction. There's so many other people involved, and there's a lot more volume. So it might make sense. There's no perfect, no guaranteed great commission split that's out there. It's different for everyone based on what it is that you need and what it is that you're receiving in return for that. But let's say, whatever the case may be, in this side, it's a 100%. So 100% to the sales associate, nothing to the broker. So that means our selling agent over here, they get a commission check for $9,000. Maybe some like errors and omissions insurance fees, so maybe like $50. Maybe there's a transaction fee that the broker charges like $100, $200, $300 even. But overall, they're pretty much getting that whole commission. Now over here on the buying side, in the buyer's office, $9,000, let's see, 10% of that is $900, so $2,700 would be how much goes to the broker, which would leave us with $7,300, I believe that is. Going to you as the agent. I mean, $7,300 is still a pretty good payday. It's not as good as $9,000, but it's a whole lot better than zero. So again, my recommendation, and again, do your due diligence, interview the brokers. 70-30%, that's a good number just if you're looking for a number to kind of look at something where, it's a good balance. But that's not to say that a 50-50 might be a better situation for you. So you've got to interview the broker, do the due diligence, find out them getting 30%. Because if it's a broker that's going to give you this same level here, if these two brokers between these two offices here, if they offer the same things, then yeah, it doesn't make any sense to have this commission split broker. But also this wouldn't be a good situation as a new agent if you're not getting 30% of value from the broker. So do your due diligence. Find out when you're trying to find a broker to join, it's really where you're interviewing the broker rather than the broker interviewing you. I mean, they might ask you a couple questions, but really, if you say I'm ready to sign up, they'll say, okay, here, sign here. So don't stress out about that, whether or not it is that they're going to hire you or anything like that. This is like a reverse job interview process. You've got the license, you've got the power, you've got the opportunity to make the broker money somehow, some way. So make them work for it. Find out what it is. Whether it's the broker, they might have some support system in place. Maybe they've got some sort of team leader or mentor situation or whatever the case may be. Find out what makes them worth that commission split it is that they're taking. And if you determine it to be worth it better than any of the other brokers it is that you've talked to, you've found your home. And then, do some transactions, work with it. If anything doesn't work out, you could always change brokers. That's always possible. There's nothing holding you to a particular broker, nothing that the law will stop you from changing brokers. So you could always switch there. This looks enticing, but remember, this is all coming from nothing. Now, once you've got experience, you might want to join one of these 100% commission split agencies. I've got no problem with that. That's what I did. But if you don't know what you're doing, then you're going to need at least 30% help, if not more, in that transaction. So find out what exists there. Now, when we think about pay, and when we think about how much money it is that we're paid, and you see this, that $9,000 or even $7,000, a little over $7,000 over here, what is it that we're doing to earn this money? We just went through how it is that we calculate this dollar amount of commission. But now the question is, okay, well, what is it that we do that makes us worth $7,300 or $9,000 or the total across all of us here of $18,000? And let's say if this is a $600,000 property, double all these numbers. This becomes $18,000. This becomes $14,600. So even more money to be made. And maybe we have a higher percent of commission, because this is something that the listing agent will negotiate. It could be 6%, it could be 7%, could be 5%, could be 4%, could be 8%, could be 10%. It's whatever it is that you can negotiate as the listing agent. So what makes us worth this money? Well, first and foremost, one of the easiest ways to kind of debunk, well, $18,000, that's a lot of money. Why should I pay you that much money? Well, if I gave you $30,000 for the price of $18,000, would you pay me $18,000 to get you $30,000? Of course. So what is it that I'm doing there when I say that? Would you pay me $18,000 to get you $30,000? Seems like a no-brainer. And that's because if we take $300,000 and we take 10% of $300,000, we get $30,000. So if we could help them get 10% more than what they could on their own, and yeah, then the math, we would do this a little bit more particular, but let's just round this off. About 10%, about $30,000. If we get them $30,000, doesn't it make sense for them to pay us $18,000? Yeah, they're not getting the full $30,000, and they might think that they could get that extra $30,000 on their own. But let me tell you where it is that I'm getting the statistic from, and it could be even more significant than this. It could actually be $60,000. Ask that question. Well, if I could get you $60,000, would you pay me $18,000 for that $60,000? Of course, yeah. Well, sign me up here. I'll write the check right now. You've got your check ready? Well, so what we're doing here is we're helping them increase the value it is that they could sell the property for through a lot of different methods. If we're the listing agent, we're marketing the property for sale. We're getting this in front of the most people possible, because the more people that see the property, the more likely it is that not only will we have multiple offers, but it's going to drive up the price of the property as well. We price the property appropriately. Because just because they want to list it for $350,000 doesn't mean it would sell for $350,000. And if we list it at $350,000, no one wants to buy it at that price, and then later, a month later, we drop the price. When people see that the price was reduced, they're going to be thinking a few things. Number one, well, how much lower are they willing to go? Or they might be thinking, well, what's wrong with the property? Why did no one else want to buy it? Why did they have to drop the price? And so that's what goes through their head. And it's us as the expert negotiator, as the expert marketer, that we help them get as high as possible. We might have to list it lower than what they think we could, but even if maybe, let's say we listed it at $300,000 and that's right at market value and this is a hot market, we might end up selling it for $310,000, $315,000, $320,000, maybe even $350,000 if there's a really serious bidding war that incurs. So that's what we're doing to earn this money. Going back to those percentages I was talking about. So if I give you $30,000, would you give me $18,000? Yes, no brainer. If I were to give you $60,000, would you give me $18,000? Yes, of course. Well, that's what's possible by using a real estate professional, a good real estate professional. According to the National Association of Realtors, opposed to selling a property for sale by owner, we could get anywhere from 10 to 25% higher on average. 10 to 25% higher. 10 to 20% is $30,000 to $60,000. 10 to 25% is, in the ballpark of about $75,000. So for $30,000 to $75,000 more is what that cost $18,000. By paying the commission it is that we're charging you, we can help you get 10 to 25% more than what you could get selling the property on your own. And if they're comparing you to other agents, if you're better than the other agents, it might not be 10% more it is that you're getting. But if you're competing with an agent maybe that's charging 5% and you want to charge 6% to them, make yourself worth it. Make yourself valuable. It's a no-brainer when you say, hey, look, if I could give you $75,000, would you give me $18,000? Of course. Why wouldn't we? And better yet, I'll get you the $75,000 before you have to pay me the $18,000. Because we don't get paid until the deal closes. So we've got to get the property under contract, we've got to get them that money, go to the closing, and then it is that we get paid. So if I could get you $75,000 first, before you have to pay me a penny, would you then pay me $18,000? Yes. So, and that's on top of what it is that they would probably be able to sell it for on their own. And that's probably best case scenario, $75,000. Worst case scenario, $30,000 more than what it is they'd be able to sell it on their own. And the reason why that is the general public does not possess the information of a real estate professional. The general public is very naive with not only negotiating, but specifically negotiating real estate, with marketing real estate, with the implications of the contracts it is that they're signing. They could very easily make a huge mistake that costs them thousands of dollars. And when today we're competing with the people that, the instant offer type of stuff and all kinds of things like that, when we're competing with institutional investors, they're not going to be paying $300,000. If $300,000 is the market value of the property, they might pay $250,000, $240,000, $200,000 even. And that might seem like, a no-brainer to them. Oh, you'll give me $250,000 and I won't have to pay a commission? Well, let's do the math on that now. So they could get $250,000, and let's just assume that they're getting all this money, that they don't have any mortgage or anything like that. So they could get $250,000, or they could get $300,000 minus $18,000. Which is still going to be better than $250,000. So we have to be able to show our value. We've got to know these numbers. We've got to have done the math, because they probably haven't done the math. They might see something and at first glance, just looking at it, they're like, oh wow, that seems enticing. This seems like something it is that we want to do. But if they actually do the math and run the numbers, they'll find out that that's the bad choice. That's not the smart investment. That's not the smart decision to be made. But that's where we come in. That's why we do these numbers. We figure these numbers here. We find out how much it is that we could get them for the property, come up with the market value of the property, and then we factor in our cost for that. It's a lot of agents get ticked off. Like, there's this whole campaign right now against like Zillow and their instant offers and all kinds of things like that. But they just made our job so much easier by this institutional investing getting involved in real estate, because now you've got numbers to show. If they say, hey, I got an offer from Zillow for $250,000 to buy my house, well, that $250,000, that's good, quick money. But are you okay with waiting a couple months to get $300,000? Well, yeah, I could wait 3 months to get $300,000. All right. It's going to cost you $18,000, but we're still going to get you more money in your pocket at the end of the day. You know, it was hard before we had these kind of instant offers and institutional investing coming in, because now we kind of have to not make up, but even if we tell them that, hey, look, if we sell it, we get $300,000. If you're doing it for sale by owner, you might be able to get $250,000 to $60,000. But that was not real. There was no actual tactile, tangible offer or numbers or anything like that on the table. Even with a for sale by owner that's been trying to sell the property, they might think, oh, well, you know, it just the right buyer has to come along. Look, in this market, especially the market that Tampa has right now, if that right buyer hasn't came along in the first couple weeks, that right buyer isn't going to be coming along. So that's what makes us valuable. That's what makes us worth money. That's what makes us worth these commissions. And before we take a quick break here, let's just run some numbers on this here just to get an idea of, you know, what the breakdown is for an hourly rate for these types of things. So, because, you know, everyone likes to think, oh, how much am I making per hour? On average, according to the National Association of Realtors, it takes 8 hours of time to close a seller. Takes a little bit longer on average to close a buyer. It's about 24 hours. But let's do some of the math on this. 9,000 divided by 8 hours. I mean, you could already just tell with some rough math, you're going to be over $1,000 an hour. So 9,000 divided by 8 hours. $1,125 an hour. So that's if it takes you the average amount of time, according to the National Association of Realtors, it takes for an agent to close a property sale. Just a little over $1,100 an hour. Let's say you're not so average. Maybe you're new. It doesn't take you 8 hours. It takes, let's say, 16 hours. Let's do the math now. It's 16 hours. It's really just going to be half of the $1,125, so you're still making about $562.50 an hour. And that's if it takes you double the amount of time that's estimated. And that's working with sellers. Sellers do take less time. On average, and in most cases, sellers will close a lot quicker for involvement on you. Now with buyers, it's a little bit more intensive. It's a little bit more of a process. There's more work it is that we're actually doing here. So let's go off of this 24 hours. And 24 hours is the average amount of time, again, according to the National Association of Realtors, that it takes to close a buyer. So let's take our $7,300, figure out how much we're making an hour if it takes us 24 hours to close the deal. Only $304 an hour. So only $304 an hour, which, I mean, it's no $1,100 an hour, but I'm sure if somebody had offered you a job for $304 an hour, I mean, people go to college for like 12 years to try to make maybe $150 an hour. Yeah, come to real estate school for 2 weeks and do a little bit of training. This is a constant learning process, don't get me wrong, but the only required training, it's not years of medical school or years of trying to study to be an attorney and pass the bar or whatever that may be. And look, this is a sales type of business, so you do have to have a level of motivation. If you're not motivated, you know, whatever the profession may be, you're not going to have high income. But look, with the right motivation, with the right training, in the right vehicle, you know, the sky is the limit here. And you know, you close a couple of these deals. Let's say we close 10 of these deals. If we could close 10 of these deals, not even once a month. If we could close almost once a month, 10 deals in a year, that's $73,000. Even with our split system. Over here, that's $90,000. If we double that, let's say that we're closing 20 deals a year. So just under about 2 deals a month. For closing 20 deals a year, $300,000 homes, that's $146,000 at the end of the year. So, I mean, the money's out there. The market is on the rise. There's a shortage of inventory right now, which, you know, makes things a little bit difficult, but the builders are bringing the inventory. They're bringing it in. And, you know, these prices might fluctuate up and down, but there's always a $300,000 home out there somewhere. It might not be the average home. Maybe the average goes up. Maybe the average goes down. But there's always these transactions and these homes out there. If you've got the motivation level and you've got the desire to go make this money and to show value to your clients, not out, just trying to make a quick buck and find out how little work it is that you could do. But you want to see if you can make do a seller here and you do 2 hours of work so you make like $4,500 an hour. Look, if you're looking for granted, you might compare this to money it is that you're making in your current profession, and you might see this and it looks better. And there's a lot of highly paid real estate professionals out there. But I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of real estate professionals that are not highly paid. But it comes down to what it is that you put into this. This is one of the few professions where what you put in is a direct reflection of what it is that you get out. So you put crap in, you're going to get crap out. You put laziness in, you're going to get lazy pay. But you put motivation, you put ambition, you put drive, you put that in, and you're going to get pay that reflects that. You might have a couple bumps along the road. Your first year isn't going to be your best year. No one's first year is ever their best year. The second year always gets better. The third year gets even better. Maybe you hit some ups and downs down the road, but you're constantly evolving and constantly growing, especially if you're constantly training yourself. And that's what we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time for State of Real Estate. We talk about making money, how to improve yourself, how to get better at making money. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about commission. We're going to do more calculations. We're going to talk maybe about some residential leases. We're going to talk about a graduated commission structure. We're going to talk about a net listing because there's a lot more ways other than this typical way to earn commission in real estate. So stick with us. I'm John Christopher. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christopher. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we talk to you about making money. Getting some money in your pocket, getting some money that maybe is not going to go in your pocket, but you're going to reinvest into your business. Or maybe reinvest into yourself. Because you'll find that, I heard this really great analogy the other day that, you're like a thermostat. If you start making more money than you know how to make, that money will start to come down. And that's only going to be temporary because the thermostat will bring that back down. But then, let's say if you're maybe somebody that had success before and had some distress and turmoil that has caused that to go away, that thermostat will help bring it back up. So you're the thermostat, and you're the one who sets the temperature of that thermostat. If you're trying to increase your income, you have to increase yourself. You have to increase your knowledge. You have to increase your drive, increase your ambition, increase your motivation, and watch as everything around you falls into place. But reinvesting in yourself, reinvesting in your business, it's a great opportunity. And especially, if you get this check for $7,000 and you're like, wow, I mean, you could just take the money and say, oh yeah, I'm a baller, I'm making $300 an hour, I'm making $1,100 an hour, and just go wild with it. Or you could take that money and reinvest it into your business. You could use it to maybe buy some advertising. You could use it to maybe spiff up your wardrobe. I mean, that's something that's a win-win, because now you look nicer. It's something kind of for you, but at the same time, it's also improving your business. Maybe you're you're hiring an assistant. You're helping give people jobs by you making money, by you being successful. There's so many things it is that you can do with this money other than just go buy a boat or go buy a fancy car or go buy a bigger house or anything like that. Look, those things are all good. But are you going to be okay with $300 an hour? Are you okay with $7,000 in a month? Or would you want to see that go to $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000? That's what reinvesting in your business does. That's what helps you raise that thermostat, helps you raise the temperature to increase everything it is that you've got around you. But let's talk more about commission. Let's talk about a graduated commission. So graduated commission, and look, the more, the corny expression, knowledge is power. Look, the right knowledge, knowing the right things that are applicable. Because, you go anywhere and you've got to learn stuff that you can't apply into your business, into your life, into some way to make yourself and your business better. What's the point of even learning that knowledge in the first place? So it's not about, knowing everything. It's about knowing the right things. And this is an option that you have in real estate to earn income. So this option of a graduated commission structure So a graduated commission structure where there's basically multiple tiers of commission. And let's say this is going to be 6%, 7%, and 8%. And this is, so negotiating. Negotiating is a big part of our job in real estate. It's a big thing it is that we do. It's a big thing that could not only help us get higher income, but also help us get better sales prices for our buyers and sellers, whatever the goal is that we're trying to get to here, whether we're trying to get a higher price for the seller, a lower price for the buyer, it ultimately reflects good upon us. But when we're setting the commission with the seller on the property, and let's say that we're trying to negotiate them a 7% commission, but they're trying to negotiate us down to 6%, and we're just dealing with straight flat commission here. What we could do is, let's say we've got a $500,000 house. That maybe it's worth about, let's say we're going to list it at, let's say we'll list it at $500,000. That's where they want to list it at. And what we could do is we develop these tiers, and $500,000 and above, we're going to charge 8% commission. Anything that's above $500,000, we charge 8% commission. Now, that doesn't mean that we get 8% commission on whatever the sale price is. It means the dollar amount that's above $500,000. So if we sell the property for $550,000, then we've got $50,000 earning 8% commission. Let's say that for the amount between $400,000 to $500,000, that's what we're earning 7% commission on. And then everything below $400,000, we're earning 6% commission. Now, having a structure that we could set up like this, it gives us more ways to negotiate. Rather than just negotiating off of a flat 6 or 7% commission, now we've got a little bit of extra additional incentive, almost an exponential incentive to sell the property for a higher price. We always have an incentive to sell the property for a higher price because 8% of $500,000 is always going to be less than 8% of $600,000 or $700,000 or $800,000. So we'll always make more money when we're paid by a commission, by a percentage. But what if we make even more money if we get a price that's higher than what they probably would normally have gotten for the property? Or especially when we're dealing with higher end properties. Maybe we're dealing with a property that's over $1 million in value. There's a lot less people that would consider buying $1 million property, or $2 million property, or $5 million property, or $10 million property. So these tiered commission structures will apply more so when we're dealing with higher priced properties. And let's just do the math on this one here. So let's say we do sell this for $550,000. So we sell it for $550,000. That means we're going to get 8% of $50,000. We're going to get 7% of this $100,000 here, because that's $100,000. From $400,000 to $500,000, that's $100,000. So we would get $100,000 at 7% commission. And then at $400,000 and below, we're getting 6% commission. So let's do some math on this here and figure out what our total commission is going to be on this property. And look, now we've got a lot more points we can negotiate off of, especially if they want to negotiate what commission it is that we're going to get paid. We could get into these details. Well, maybe we'll make this 7.5%. Oh, if we do 7.5%, then we got to make this one 7.25%. And this one we could make 5.9%. And you could get really, really kind of down to the nitty-gritty with this here of the negotiation back and forth. But now it gives you more ammunition of more it is that you can negotiate off of. I mean, if we're just negotiating off of 7% and it's 7% flat for the whole thing, and they're wanting 6% and we're wanting 7%, maybe we could split the difference at 6.5%, and maybe they'll be okay with that. Or if we're trying to, further incentivize ourselves, which is good for both of us, to get the property sold for more. And look, we can do the full math here, and basically they could figure out what their total commission is going to be off of this. So on $50,000, with 8%, we've got $4,000. So on that amount above $500,000, we're getting $4,000 in commission. For the amount here of $100,000 at 7%, we're getting $7,000 of commission. And then for this $400,000 at 6% commission, that's going to be, I think, about $24,000. Yeah, $24,000. So across the board, across all these here, what do we got? About $35,000, I believe that is. Yeah, $35,000 in total commission. Now let's talk about the difference here if we were to just charge, let's say just a flat, let's say 6.5%. Let's say we're able to get them up a little bit over 6.5%. And I think this one's going to be less, but we'll see. We've got to be able to do the numbers and do the math so we know what makes the most sense for our clients and us. So just running the numbers, crunching the numbers, doing the math tells you what makes sense. So let's say if we did 6.5% on the $550,000 sale. So $550,000 at 6.5%. Ooh, we would have made more just doing this. So it doesn't always work out. Now we play with these numbers enough. Maybe we don't make this 8%, we make this 9%, or maybe we move these tiers around. Because here, if we get them to a flat 6.5% commission, we would make $750 more. Now, when we're going through this here, you might have thought that, okay, yeah, if we're charging 8% commission, look, it's only 8% on $50,000. So it doesn't make a huge impact in the total commission here. And this one, yes, this is at 7%, but that's only $100,000. $400,000 of the sale price was based on 6%. So that makes our 6.5% better. So you've got to know how to do this math. You've got to actually do the math, not just know how to do it, but do the math so you can see, okay, what makes more sense. I mean, yeah, it's not a huge difference, but we'll make $750,000 here. As opposed to, let's say, if they just wanted us to pay a flat 6%, that definitely would be less. If it was just 6% of $550,000, that would be less. Let's figure out how much less of this one here if we were to just charge a 6% commission. So $550,000 at 6% commission. that would only be $33,000. So if they won't budge from 6%, but they would accept this graduated commission structure, there'd be about an extra $2,000 of commission at play with this one. So this is another option. It's another thing it is you can negotiate. And depending on the difference between the graduated structure and what it is that you're charging here, maybe they're not okay with this. Maybe we renegotiate this and they say, okay, well I'd be okay with this if you do this at 6.5 and you do this at 7%. Okay, well, let's figure the math. Let's figure out what it is that the math equals out to for this one here. How much difference this would be. I mean, ultimately, this is still going to be more than just 6% because we've got an extra 0.5% here and a whole extra percent here. So $50,000 at 7%, $100,000 at 6.5%, and $400,000 at 6%. So if we do the math now, add these together, we should still end up slightly higher than the $33,000. So 24 and 6.5 and 3.5. Yeah, $34,000. So not a huge difference, but still an extra $1,000 in total commission money as opposed to just doing a flat 6% commission. And look, what it is that they're going to accept is up to how well it is that you can negotiate. And one of the things it is you could do in negotiation is have more things to negotiate off of. And look, even if we're just sticking with the standard commission here of 6%, maybe we can negotiate off of how long our listing is going to be. Maybe instead of having a 1-year listing, only doing a 6-month listing. Charging 7%, but we'll do it for 6 months. No, I'm still not okay with that. Well, how about if we do it for 3 months? No, I'm still not good with that. What if we just do it for 1 month? And if I can't get it sold in 1 month, then you pay me 7% commission, but if I can't get it sold in 1 month, then we're done. They might accept something like that. We held our ground on the commission it is that we wanted to charge, but we negotiated on other elements of the contract. That's one of the key things you want to understand about negotiation is there's always multiple things to negotiate off of, especially in real estate contracts. That's for the listing. Maybe if we're dealing with the purchase contract, maybe we're negotiating a $550,000 sale price on this property. And maybe that's about as high as our buyer's willing to go, but maybe we want to negotiate on some other things. Maybe we increase our deposit. Instead of $550,000 with no deposit, we do $550,000 with a $10,000 deposit. Still not good enough? Okay, how about $20,000? How about $30,000? And we negotiate off of that. And they might even say something like, well, no, the deposit doesn't matter to us. Yeah, it does matter to them because that deposit is surety that they're going to get towards the sale, that this is going to actually close. If they have any doubts about you closing, if you put $50,000 on the line, which isn't much for a $550,000 sale on a property, but if that client puts $50,000 on the line, that gives some reassurance to the seller because the seller could be entitled to that money if the buyer breaches the contract. So if they're willing to put $50,000 on the line, now the buyer will get that money back if they go through the contract as it states, but if they breach the contract, that money would typically be entitled to go to the seller. And that's going to be enticing to them. Maybe we speed up the closing period, or maybe it's the reverse. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the closing just needs to be longer. So we've got to find out what these hot button issues are and then use those to our advantage and negotiate off of them. But there's so many more things to negotiate off of just than the price, whether it's the price of the home, the price of our commission, or whatever the case may be. Maybe we're charging a cancellation fee in our listing agreement and we say, hey, look, if you do the 7% commission, we're going to waive the cancellation fee. No cancellation fee. So no obligation to you. But if we do a lower commission, then yeah, I've got to charge a cancellation fee if you want to cancel. And maybe that cancellation fee is $1,000, maybe it's $500, maybe it's $100. You make the numbers. You negotiate all of this stuff with your clients. So there's a lot of power it is that you have. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to do one more of these calculations here. We're going to do this with a net listing, understanding what a net listing is. So we're going to do that calculation next. Stick with us. I'm John Christmer. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you live with State of Real Estate, all about making money in real estate. And today we're talking about how it is that we make that money through commission and how it is that we can charge that money. So we talked about a standard commission breakdown. We talked about graduated commission. I want to talk about another one here called a net listing. And so a net listing is another tool it is that we have in our toolbox of how it is that we could charge money in a sale. And I'd mentioned leases earlier. I just want to kind of touch on that one more time because I don't think we'll have any time to do any math today on the lease calculations. But overall, the lease calculations are pretty simple because it's usually just some sort of flat fixed rate. It might be 1 month's rent. It might be 2 months' rent. I've even seen as high as 3 months' rent sometimes being the commission. It might be just a flat rate, maybe $100, $200, $300 maybe. For something like the smaller single-family homes and whatnot. So it depends. You can just really look in the MLS and see what the commissions are for that. And a lot of agents make it, because we have a high percentage of renters. Not as many percentages there are owners out there, but one of the highest percentage of renters that we've had since this number has been tracked. And there's a lot of opportunity to earn commission by helping people rent properties. And these renters, they might have dreams of buying down the road, so stay in touch with them, follow up with them. Keep good contact with them so when they are ready to buy, you're ready to be there to serve them, to earn now the big payday. So that makes even something like that worthwhile. If you got time maybe and you want to work with renters, it's a lot quicker process typically than putting somebody in a rental than it is putting somebody in a home it is that they've purchased. So keep that in mind as well. That's another way it is that we could earn commission out there. As well as with property management, we usually charge a fee based on the rent that's collected. A percentage of the rent that's collected is usually a property management fee. Maybe 10% is what it is that you charge. Again, that's up for your negotiation. So if the rent's $1,000 and it's $100 a month, it's the property management fee. Or if it's 15%, $150 a month. So again, that's negotiable. It's whatever it is that you negotiate with your clients if you're doing property management. There's another thing you can do with your real estate license. But let's talk about a net listing. And net listings, we could use them in a variety of circumstances. We could use these for residential deals, for businesses, for commercial. These other types of listing agreements of commission structures aren't so common for residential, but it's because a lot of people don't even know that these exist. Or maybe they do know they exist, but they're afraid to use them. They're afraid to try to negotiate off of them. But this is another way that might make sense, not only for you, but also the client in the transaction. So let's say you've got somebody that's got a some sort of investment, whether it's a business or it could also be, because businesses, you're allowed to sell those with a real estate license as well. That real estate license opens up to a lot of potential, including businesses in Florida. So let's say you've got something that the seller needs to net $1 million. Let's say the seller needs to get $1 million out of this property. And let's say our closing cost and other expenses, I don't know, let's just say it's $50,000. Just use a nice even number there. So we've got the seller wants to net $1 million. We've got closing costs and other expenses of $50,000. So that means we need to account for at least $1,050,000. But with a net listing, anything we sell over and above what covers the seller's closing cost and their net, so that the seller is able to walk away with $1 million, is our commission. So if we sell this property for, let's say, $1.5 million, which again, this is something that's more common when we're dealing with these higher value properties. Whether the seller's net, we need to get them, they get $1 million of that money. We've got $50,000 in closing expenses, so we subtract out that, and we're left with $450,000 in commission. A little on the high side. Might not be this much. I mean, maybe you only sell this property for 1.2, but I mean, it depends. The net listing definitely can be used. And let's say, well, what if I were to just charge 6% on this $1.5 million? What would that be? Okay, well, let's say if we're just going to charge a flat 6%. So $1,500,000 times 6%, we end up with $90,000. Still a pretty good payday, but it's not $450,000. Now look, you might not make this. These numbers are all just example purposes here. But if you were to charge 6% on $1.5 million, you'd get $90,000. But if you could talk to the seller and you could convince them, and maybe this is, because again, we've got to always ask the question from the ethical standpoint of this here, of what value it is that we're adding for this one to get paid almost $500,000 on this transaction here. Well, if the value it is that we're adding here, if we're seriously marketing this property, we might spend maybe $100,000, maybe $50,000, whatever it may be, marketing the property and getting the property sold. Maybe this property takes 2-3 years to get sold. So, I mean, all these things like that can justify us getting paid so highly for these transactions. So the net listing, I mean, and again, the numbers that fill these in are or what it is that you negotiate with your client. I mean, look, even if we say, you know what, I'll do a net listing agreement, but I'm not just going to get you $1 million, I'll get you $1,200,000. So we take that $1,200,000. Yeah, you don't get as high of a payday, but you still make $250,000 of that one. $250,000 of commission, which is still better than the $90,000 if we just did a 6% commission on the whole thing. So this depends. I mean, again, it's what numbers it is that you plug into this here. I'm not here to tell you what the numbers are. I'm telling you how to find these numbers, how to calculate them, how to do them, so you could figure out what fits for the transaction it is that you're working with based on the level of difficulty and the degree of work it's going to take here. Now, you are running a risk with this one, with the net listing, because let's say we're only able to sell this property for not $1.5 million, but we sell the property for $1,260,000. What's that little noise? Wah, wah, wah. Because then we only make $10,000 in commission. And you know, that might be where it is that you're dealing with this here. Maybe the seller truly cannot afford to pay you a $90,000 commission. So maybe you structure it to where, okay, whatever we sell the property for, we subtract out with the expenses, how much it is we're netting you, as well as additional cost, and what's left over is the commission. So, I mean, there's both sides of this stuff here. It could be very lucrative, or, you know, maybe it's something where, I mean, you're just helping somebody out, and you're getting them what it is that they need to walk away from the property with. Maybe they've got a mortgage to pay off, or whatever it may be. And then whatever's left over on top of that is your commission. And that saves them from having to pay a $90,000 commission or something crazy like that. So again, it depends on what it is that you structure this with here. That could be maybe $500,000, or maybe it's only $10,000. That depends on your efforts that you put in, what you sell the property for. If you sell it for more money, you make more money. That's whether you've got a flat rate commission or you've got a variable graduated commission, or whether you've got a net listing type of commission, whatever the case may be. again, it's not about knowing what the numbers are. It's about knowing how to do the numbers and finding out what the specific numbers are for that particular transaction. Running these different scenarios so you know, okay, what are our options? What's possible? What is it that we could do to charge money? So that's about all the time it is that we've got for today on this week's episode of State of Real Estate. Thank you guys for tuning in. We do the show every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the like button on Facebook, get notifications on Facebook so that way you don't miss any of this stuff here. And you can also go to tampaschool.com/success and drop your email in there. And whenever it is that we go live, we'll send you an email and say, hey, we're going live. We're going to talk about how to make you some money. What you should be doing to make some money. That's what we do on State of Real Estate every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. It's about all the time it is that we've got for today. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Have a happy and a safe Memorial Day weekend. Got my Memorial Day red, white, and blues on right now. So yeah, enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you guys next week for Ask the Instructor.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.